Welcome to the talk shop.
All right, we're good.
Yeah, so I mean, since you said you've been there from the inception, like, at least give us a deep dive into that whole. Because honestly, I'm not even. There's a time when I used to download any app that was popping. So I even downloaded Clubhouse, and I just never bothered to figure out a way to get on there. I'm not even bothered, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm really gonna be holding my phone and listening to people talk. Like that's what I'm gonna be doing. I don't have time for that, so I didn't even bother with TikTok either, even though it seems interesting. But at least people post on TikTok, on Instagram, so I can see it that way.
But those are old ones. Like, if you want to be like up on the trends with the kids, you need to be on TikTok where it's happening. Because like you guys are just hearing about Bust It now, but like it's been happening on TikTok for like the past month.
Really?
So like, yeah, it's been happening. So basically how it started. So there's like TikTok does like all these like dances, and it kind of is like a really good platform for musicians if they want to like promote their music. Then like a good way to get the kids involved is to make it something that has like a catchy hook that they can make like a TikTok dance to. That's how like Old Town Road and like most of the songs that are on the top 40 now are just because they're big on TikTok.
Yeah.
So basically this girl and her friend were like at a sleepover, and they're in some like random like, I don't know. And then she's talking about how like she has this idea for this song where you're just like standing and you're kind of just like in like casual clothes. And then when the bust it part of the song hits, you drop down and are like whining your waist. And they didn't do it at that time. They just were like, oh, I want to see like some other creators do it. Mm-hmm. And then it took off from there of just like 14-year-old girls wanting to perform for TikTok. And it took off from there, and then it hit Twitter and Instagram. But it took off on TikTok a while ago. And
they weren't like doing the version now we see on Twitter is like it goes from dressing regular to like looking like you're going out to the club. Was that how it was for the kids also, or no?
So for the kids, it started kind of as like, so there's a big thing on TikTok with like transitions where you start kind of like no makeup, dressing regular, and then you do like I don't know what it's called, like a jump cut kind of a thing. Yeah, a transition. And then you're in like glam and you have your hair done, outfit. So obviously these kids are going to clubs, but they still find their way to like have like thoughty outfits. So they like, it started kind of like that. And then once it hit Instagram.
Isn't that what Don't Rush was?
That's what I was about to say. I was like, this is essentially what Don't Rush was.
Because listen, you did Don't Rush, and I edited your video. Like with Amar. In fact, for people, we're jumping in mid conversation, but this is my sister-in-law, Chidera Nwaroh, D Money, as I like to call her. I want to give her a shout out. She's a future doctor. Yes. So she is not a thought, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about.
Thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
I mean, hold on. Let's just say don't discriminate, because
I'm not. I'm a nice girl. I love the Lord.
Exactly. So I mean, either way, a doctor can be a thought too. So don't.
That's true.
Actually,
that's true.
You're very true. And if you watch Grey's Anatomy, they make
the
worst thoughts.
Exactly.
But I want to get that in before we went any further. People start asking us like, what's going on here? But yeah, so Don't Rush. I edited your video. Don't Rush was you're just like looking around like, oh, what's going on? And then pow, you change into all the makeup and the dress. Like, this is different in that people are literally twerking. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the only difference, really, right?
Yeah. I think Don't Rush was a bit more like wholesome of just like getting ready with my friends kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where Bust It has a bit more of like a sexual connotation to it.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what somebody says. Like, this is pretty much just Don't Rush, but exclusively for women, because guys are not going to do this. Although some silly guys have done some.
Are guys doing it now?
No, but on Twitter, like not necessarily like twerking, but like doing the transition, and it's like you're not supposed to do this. It's only for women, or whatever. But it's become so bad that you're not sure if you want to even watch any busted videos around anybody. Once the song comes on, it's like, oh, you're watching that? Oh, I see. So you don't even bother to watch any of them, It's so bad.
No, once you hear the intro, you know what you're in for. And
Exactly.
like, you have to be careful.
But the thing is, like, like there was the other night, the other morning I woke up. I literally woke up and I was like, "Why am I hearing bust it, bust it?" Yeah, and I thought, have I watched that many that it's in my head? And I looked over and Amara was watching it. I was like, okay.
Exactly.
They're everywhere, though. They're everywhere. And
you
like,
can't pass Twitter without it. You can't pass Instagram without it. So
everybody's Instagram reels is them doing bust it. And I think especially now, I think the reason like Don't Rush took off was because like in COVID and like pandemic times, like you don't get to like dress up and do glam and stuff like that. And I think the same thing of like everybody wants to remind everybody they're hot, even if like the pandemic is going on and they can't go anywhere. So Bust It has now opened that door for them.
Exactly. The only thing that's like unfortunate about Bust It is like, firstly, like Erica Banks, who came up with the song. Apparently, the song's been out for like ever.
For years,
no one listened to it, and now it's like, okay, all right. And now she's like performing the song. She got a record deal now off the song. It's like,
oh wow,
yeah, like your blessings can be delayed. Apparently, like seriously.
That's the magic of TikTok, though. Like TikTok is so crazy because, like, that is it like Usher who sang "One Wish"?
Ray J.
Ray J. Okay, that song. There was a period of time that it like it popped up on Twitter and everybody was like, oh, this like old school R&B song. I was like, sorry, this song came out when I was already a teenager and I know I'm not old, so it's not like old school, relax. But all these like 14, 15, 16-year-olds are like discovering music for the first time and restarting people's careers.
Yeah. I mean, like you said in the beginning, a movement like that is what brought up Old Town Road to more popularity than it was before. So, I mean, hey, this is how, like you said, this is how marketing is going nowadays. You can't shoot ads necessarily. So you're doing things like this challenge. You're doing things like hiring Macaroni and other people to like in Nigeria anyways, to like advertise your stuff in the middle of their skits, which I think is pretty clear. And those people, I don't know how much money they're earning, but if that girl, what's her name? The little girl that ended up buying a house for her mom. Oh, what's her name? The bald one.
Oh, the one oddity, like I know her. I know
not that one. No,
not that one.
In Nigeria, the one that she was a very small comedian. She's very young.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, God, her name is.
CNN even like featured her like as a young.
Yeah, but she recently bought a house for her mom, and this is like 2 years ago was when she was really. I haven't seen any videos of her like recently, but like. Is it something like Chris Joy or something? A name like that, anyways.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but anyways, so people like that, they're really making money from advertising that way for people. Like, I'm sure Macaroni is making millions on all these things he's doing.
You know who's not making money though? Like, I mean, generally the guy's rich, but like not making money off it in their presence is Papa. Like,
those guys, I can't.
They need to give that dude. If I give him his flowers, because every post of any kind, his face is in the comments.
There's a meme of him.
Memes.
Yep.
And they profit nothing off of them. Also, I think it's funny when my like non-Nigerian friends use the memes and they're like, "Oh, these children are so funny." I'm like,
you don't even know this is a grown man. The grown man with kids.
Yeah.
I wonder how they feel. Like for real. Like, do they? Anyways, they're used to it now. They don't really care.
They use their own meme. They know what's happening.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, of course.
They're using it. They're using it.
There's another guy, that's Hispanic guy, that's like that too. Like he's an older guy, but he looks like a kid, and he's on all these memes too. But he's Hispanic. I think he talks like he is. I don't know what his real name is, but crazy. But anyway, social media is doing things for people. Get it how you can get it, man. Go viral somehow. Do something.
Honestly. You know that girl, Dera knows her. She met her. You know that girl, Caramel Plug or Caramel Sugar?
Yeah.
About her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that girl is. She's in Nigeria right now. Like she went, and she's just like she was with Don Jazzy.
Yeah.
Like she's just the girl has gone off. And she only like talk about social media. Yeah, like she was just in her room one day and made a video about like Game of Thrones. All this Game of Thrones. What is this? And it popped off. And now the girl is like a big deal.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It is what it is, man. You start small, but You know,
I think the thing that I love about social media though is that like there's no like recipe for success. Like that worked for her and that has been so successful for her. But like if I go and do that now, it's not going to pop off in the same way. So I kind of like that it forces everybody to just like be creative and like be authentic and like figure out your own path. Cause like why would you want two of the same like comedian when you can just follow one person instead of the other? Whereas before I felt like it was like more popular for everybody to kind of have the same like style of whatever it was, like music or.
I mean, if you honestly think about it, especially let's just think about Nigerian scene of comedy and like all these skits and stuff. A lot of them do the same thing. Just some variances, you know. Most of them collab with each other also, so that's pretty good. But in general, the popular ones are similar. I mean, like, if truth be told, Miraji is the same as Debo, essentially, Mr. Macaroni, same as the woman that does Macaroni's wife. You know, they're all the same. So I mean, but hey, there's enough room for everybody to eat. Whoever has the most followers is the one that gets the most deals. But everyone seems to be doing the same amount of work. I don't think Maraji is as pressed to like do ads like that. She seems to just be chilling and doing her own thing on her own time.
There's money being made somehow, and that's doing her just fine. You know? So Dera, you have a career if you want it. You just gotta find your niche. You know,
in Instagram comedy.
I think that there was a period of time where Dera and I thought we could be like a social media like you remember when what's his name? Chimbi, what was that guy? Charles Okocha.
Oh yes.
Like what was that stuff he was doing? Like give him my accolades.
Yes, my accolades.
Everyone was doing it.
So embarrassing.
Dera and I did it, and I've seen the footage. Like nah,
cringe.
No, the thing is, we did it. We posted it. I was getting like we posted it, and I got on a flight or something, and I was getting DMs being like, "Oh, like I saw you on your brother-in-law's Instagram story." ... And I still was like, "No, it's funny. Don't worry about it."
We posted.
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that. Did I see that? I don't think I saw that. I don't remember that.
Oh wow. God, it was so embarrassing. But we really thought we were like being so funny and we're gonna get famous.
You can find your own niche. I mean, you can find something medical to make funny when you start doing clinicals, you know, trials and tribulations of like I don't know if you want to do surgery, you know, something random, you know, your own.
Think that, like those influencers, like the medical influencers, like my goal is to have like free scrubs. I want #wearfigs. If you're watching this,
figs, yes,
send me some scrubs.
It's funny because Amaka bought them for my auntie who is in the medical field also, and she's like, I've been eyeing these for so long, but they're so expensive, doesn't make any sense, but they're good too, like they're good quality, you know, stuff like that. So hey, if that's what you're, I mean, trust me, there's a lot of things you could do. You know, once you start I don't know if you started your rotations or whatever, but once you start that, you know, I mean, you'll be a young doctor, you know, whatever you're going through in a funny sense, you can post it. Ideas. That's
you seen those doctors on like TikTok who like they educate you, but they entertain you. Like I think there was some who are like, let me explain and they're how do you like, you know how it's small mRNA?
mRNA, yes.
mRNA,
like, is it just mRNA or do people say like Myrna? I've not said it to anyone. I've just been wondering to myself.
Wow, really? Wow.
No, it's just mRNA, microRNA.
Wow.
This is someone's dad, Myrna.
I mean, if we even try, if you said, okay, was that created by Moderna as part of their name? You know that kind of thing.
Honestly, I've been wondering. What you just said with Moderna, I wondered it. I was like, so how did Moderna get this Myrna nonsense?
Wow.
Oh man,
it happens. No, don't mind me. It happens.
Anyway, that's what you can do. That's what you could do.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a space for it. So
let's talk a little bit about med school. Tell us, like, firstly, what is that like? Because I don't think enough people who are not in it, like it's its own bubble, right? A bit like law school. Like you see like the highlights, right? But you don't see like what is it like? And then there's some specific stuff we'll get into in regards to that.
Yeah, I think med school is like, I like joke that it's like kind of a cult. Like everybody in med school like convinces themselves that like they're so happy to be here, so happy to be like going through these like trials and tribulations, but it's really exhausting. And like sometimes you're learning things that like you don't care about. You like know you're never going to need to use, but you just have to like learn it for the exam. And there's just like a lot of like, it kind of, I think, for me at least, med school is kind of like high school part two. Cause like you graduate high school and like you go to undergrad, you get to like build this circle of people that you want to spend time with, and you really like figure out who you are and like your likes and dislikes. Cause you're like in a sea of thousands of people all the time in undergrad. So you're not like, it doesn't, I don't know, things just don't matter as much. So you kind of get to just figure out your way. And then med school kind of sets you back because now you're like in this 160 people group or whatever, where like there's cliques again and like people are throwing parties, and it's like, are you going to this person's party or this person's party? There's drama, and all of us are adults. Like some people in my class are parents, but there's like petty drama up and down.
You know, it's funny. I don't know if this is something that's specific to the medical field, because I feel like that's how Amaka is at work. Like they have their bubble and friends, and they do everything together. And I guess it's cool. But I wouldn't see like I have friends that are at work, but I'm not about to go out with you on a regular basis. Like we go for drinks after work, but I'm not. I don't share my life with. I mean, some, but I never get to that point where literally I'm on the phone with them at midnight talking about some random funny thing to them. Like they have like inside jokes and like, you know, their groups. You know, I find it interesting. I've noticed it. I mean, I guess if you spend that much time together doing things that are stressful, and you're trying to get to a certain point, you make those connections, which makes sense. So
I think there's definitely like bonding in the struggle, because like not a lot of people understand what it's like to be like so exhausted and like in this weird like mental space where like you're so exhausted, you have all these things to figure out, like you don't really get to see your like outside friends and family that much. Like it's a very like weird, unique cloud space that you're in all the time. So it's nice having that group of people who understand. And I think like a lot of my closest friends now are in med school, but like I think you get close because like you're just all going through the same struggle. And no matter how much you try to explain it to like other people in your life, they can never really get it. But I do think that like COVID has been interesting because like now that I'm not in class with these people all the time, I kind of have been able to like assess like who did I actually enjoy spending time with versus like who was I spending time with because like we were trapped in a lecture theater together all day, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like how the pandemic has affected not just that social part, but like classes in general. I mean, I guess at this point, is your program like a half and half? Like you start with the classes and then you go into, obviously that's how all med school is really. So you go into what do you call it, clinicals or whatever.
Yeah.
After a certain period of time. So this is all the class part, right?
Yeah. So like half and half. We do a year and a half in the classroom, and then a year and a half on rotations.
Yeah.
So when COVID started, we were still in the classroom part. So everything just got moved online. So I was just like sitting at my desk from like 8:30 to 5:30, like watching lectures on Zoom all day. And it was like the most torturous thing ever. And I was actually talking to my sister today that like you need to, in a couple of years time, when you go see a doctor, you have to ask them if they were in school during COVID, because like all of our exams were online. I didn't cheat because I like live in fear of whatever, but I guarantee people were cheating. Our physical exams are like practice on these like test dummies. I like force my siblings to let me practice on them. Like I'll be an okay doctor, but like I won't be as good as somebody who like went to school in person is what we'll see. So just screen your doctor, ask them when they went to school, make sure they weren't cheating on their exams. Cause like there's some people in my class who definitely like shouldn't get their degree, but that's
like, wouldn't it be obvious? Wouldn't it be obvious from like the lecturer grading the exams, like that someone got an extraordinary score? You don't think so? Because I'm thinking in my mind, I'm thinking about it like when I do my CPE courses for my certificate, right? For my CPA certificate, like I don't go to the lectures, right? It's an 8-hour course, but they give you questions, like 40 questions, and they give you all the study material. Literally, all I do is spend an hour searching the document and get the answer for this. I mean, I learned that way, but still, I do it because I don't have time, you know. Do you think it's a similar thing where people are literally just search for the answer and do it? And how is it curtailed? Like, you know, there has to be a way for it to be, you know, monitored in a way.
For sure. I think that I think the undergrads actually did a better job at like screening for cheating than like the medical school did. Cause like in theory, like what you're in theory, if you saw somebody's marks were like spiking during COVID, they could also explain it a way that like, oh, now that I'm at home all the time, I have more time to study. You know what I mean? So like, it's not, I'm sure some people's marks did spike because they just had like nothing else to do but study. But I think our finals were in person. So they delayed all of our finals until like, I think like September when we were allowed to be back in person. So we just had a week of like back-to-back finals. So our finals were like 50% of our grade or something. So like, even if you cheated on all the exams, like you still had to study for the final and like figure it out. And then like when it comes time to like licensing exams, like you're still going to have to go back and learn it. So like you just played yourself when you could have been learning it in like a lower stress environment than like when you have a million and one other things going on.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Are your boards essentially the same as the US?
No, they're different. US does like step 1, step 2. We write like the Royal College exam. So it's just one exam at the end of medical school that's like this giant multiple choice exam of just like everything you've learned in medical school. But a lot of people in my class actually are like writing the US board so they can apply to residency in the US as well. But it's two different systems.
What amazes me is that like in the UK, like you actually have quite a few Canadians who go to the UK because it's just your undergrad. Like your undergrad is med school. So like you get a someone who graduates at like 21, 22, and that person's a doctor. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
really? That's how it is. So they start med school from undergrad. Actually, yeah, you're right. Because I know some.
Yeah, you just go from high school to med school. Like that's it.
Wow.
I'm one of my family friends like, I just graduated med school. I looked at her and I was like, this person looks too young. What are you talking about? How old are you? She told me she was 21. I was like, this doesn't make sense. Then that was when I discovered it, and that's when I got concerned. I was like, are you really letting 21-year-olds be doctors? Like, what's going on?
So do they have like the same kind of like rotations after, or what? Like everything is within that period, and they graduate with everything done by 21.
I think that the med schools in the UK are 6 years or something because they like meld like basic science with like medical education, but they do the same thing of like they have like a classroom period and they have a medical rotation period. But then I also think that like their like junior doctor when they graduate is something different than being like you're a junior doctor first and then you're like the equivalent of a resident. So I think probably all in all.
Same
it
period
would add up the same timeline, but they are like out making money sooner than we would be, which is quite nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
they're my class for like 19.
Sorry, someone in your class is 19.
Yeah, because you can get into like technically speaking, you can get into medical school in Canada like at any time. Like you can do 1 year of undergrad and then apply. So there are people in my class who like turned 20 when they were in medical school.
So like their MCATs are like perfect or what? I can't understand.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're just like little savants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very concerned about that, but okay. Let me ask you. Let's ask you something a little personal in the sense of you are a young Black girl in a province in Canada where you might think there are lots of Black people, but they're only just Nigerians.
Where you in Alberta, man?
It's just Nigerians, like as far as the Black people go, and maybe some Somalians. But you're not common, is what I mean, right? Like there aren't many of you doing what you're doing. And in general, I think one thing that COVID in the States and in Canada has brought up is, the high death rates in Black people. You're hearing a lot of people talking about just there isn't a good understanding of Black healthcare in general in North America. So what you're doing is actually very important. But tell us a little bit about your journey as a Black person in this, getting into this profession. I know personally you had some issues. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so famously, I'm a young Black girl. I think the first like hurdle to overcome is just like everybody who interviews you is white, better or worse. Like it is just like white people interviewing you. So like, fortunately for me, and Bernie makes fun of me for this all the time, like I talk very like white. So fortunately
I never
for
said
me,
that.
I'm like pretty good at like putting on my like white face and like catering to like what white people want to see and hear. So I think that was advantageous for me for getting in. But I think that like it also like takes a toll on like I'm going to school and pretending to be white, and then I come home and I finally get to like be who I am, and then I have to go to this, and it takes a toll. And in my class of like 170 people, there was only 4 Black people of like our whole class. So that also is just exhausting when you have to be like the ambassador for all Black people in every instance, or like when they would teach something that like using language that you just know is inappropriate, but like you're one of like 180 people, and there really isn't like a pathway for you to be like, oh, like that isn't the case, or that isn't how I would have presented that, or like there's issues around like skin findings for different things where like they'll talk about like erythema, but then in somebody who is like a darker complexion, like brown or Black, it wouldn't present in the same way, but we're not being taught that. And as like, again, one of like a minority within a minority, you don't really have like the avenue or like the platform to talk about like why it's inappropriate that they're not teaching how to like identify different pathologies in Black people, which again is just exhausting. So like on top of the like baseline exhaustion of just like trying to finish med school, there's now like an exhaustion of like trying to make sure that like your parents, your siblings, your friends and family could be cared for by your peers. And then there's also the added like trying to be the ambassador for all Black people when like realistically, like I'm just a kid, like I don't know anything. I shouldn't be the ambassador for anything.
Yeah.
So it is like taxing, and I can understand why like there's a lower rate of admission for Black students, and there's like higher rate of non-completion of medical school for Black students, and like higher mortality rate, as you said, when non-Black physicians care for Black patients. I think it just all comes together in a nice tornado.
So just I want to dig into that a little bit. So I understand that it's difficult, but how I'm assuming you're doing something anyways to try to. I'm just assuming to say things or bring it up. I mean, maybe not make too much noise, but somehow, because it's dangerous, I would imagine, to just take it as what it is, unless you're saying, okay, fine, on my own time, I'm going to try to figure out what these differences are. As part of my studying and bettering myself, I'm going to study outside of what's presented here just to know that, I know what it is. But like you said, these are the people going to be treating everyone, and they won't know how to treat Black people because they're not even going to be bothering to figure that out. Especially, I mean, obviously in all cases it's important, but especially in the realm of mothers, like delivery deaths and basic things like that, where it's clear there's an issue. It's clear that there's specific things that ail Black people that they're not teaching white doctors or white people or people all over across the world. And the only reason why this is more significant is because it's medicine. It's not like it's anything else, because truth be told, in the region you are, you learn what's prevalent to that region. That's just how things are. Where in England you learn British system of doing things, all that. In America you learn different. Like for instance, I can't go to England and just automatically be an accountant. I have to learn how they do their things. Basic principles are the same, but there's specific things that are important that I would need to learn to thrive in that system. And that's just how it is across the board for learning. It makes sense because you're not in the same environment. Some things don't relate to you. But as the world is getting more global, these things need to reach the standard. You know what I mean? I don't know how much, like I said, I don't know how easy it is to say things, but how do you think this can be combated? How are you doing things to help you and help your classmates, those who are bothering, to do that? I mean, just to help, because it's serious. I don't know. It's serious.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, that like as the world becomes more global, like you can't just say that like because we're in Canada and the population is like mostly Caucasian, that's the only population we need to know how to treat. Like it's not acceptable for a Black person to die because you couldn't like recognize like a basic finding in their skin tone. So this past summer, me and the other 3 Black students in my class, we wrote up calls to action for our medical school to improve education around racism and diversity. So both in terms of like education around like racial biases, like even before you start treating the patient, like when you walk in the room and you see a Black man, how do you check your bias at the door and make sure that you're providing them high quality care, regardless of like everything else you're bringing into the room, and addressing that in ourselves as physicians, and then like figuring out how do we combat that and how can we eliminate that bias at some point, as well as then just like general education around like different skin findings in Black people, different like common uses of medications in Black people, debunking some of the like medical, like there was a study done a couple of years ago that like residents in the US still believed that like Black people have different levels of pain tolerance than white people.
Literally going to bring that up.
Yeah, so they need less anesthetic, which like if you thought about it for 2 seconds, like makes no sense.
It makes no damn sense.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the things I was going to bring up. It's like that's a prevalent thing, especially with pregnant women. It's like the woman's telling you something is wrong and you're not listening because you have a higher pain. Who the hell are you to tell me why I pay? I'm telling you how I'm hurting. And you're telling me, oh, the book said you guys have a better pain threshold, so I'm not going to listen to you. Like sounds ridiculous, but doesn't make sense to them and it's crazy.
No, totally. It's such a like silly line of thinking that if anybody like stepped back for 2 seconds and like really thought about it, they would see that it's silly. But I think that a lot of times, like in medical education, we take for granted that like this is a group of competent people. I'm assuming they don't believe this anymore, but sometimes you have to explicitly tell people like this has been debunked because ABC. This is not appropriate because ABC. So that was one of the pillars that we wanted to address. And then one of the other pillars was around like mental well-being. As I mentioned before, like it's so taxing to be a medical student baseline, and then you throw in like the like racial component, and that doesn't even begin to like address like the racism you face from your classmates, the racism you face in the hospital being a person of color. So we wanted there to be like support dedicated to that, and not just like a white counselor being like, that must be hard kind of a thing, like support on like, this is why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And these are the things we can do practically to combat that. And then we also wanted to have like avenues for reporting racism. Because so often, I think especially when you're like a minority, when me and my friends would like sit down, we'd all kind of like joke or laugh about like, oh, like such and such once again was like touching my braid in class, or like such and such once again said this and this and this. And we just like talk about these like acts of racism against us as it's kind of like a joke, but then it's not, like it's really serious and it's not good for anybody. And we also have all these like encounters in the clinical space that we just have nothing to do with. We just have to sit around and kind of like talk about them. So we wanted to have like an avenue to report those things, so that like if a preceptor says something offensive to me, I'm reporting him so that no other Black student is in that position and no Black patient should be in that position. And there wasn't really a mechanism in place for that in previous years. So those were the 3 things that we kind of wanted to combat. And the university was, to their credit, they were pretty receptive, and some of the stuff has been taken up really well and like implemented, and staff is becoming more diverse. I think they've hired like 2 new Black staff to the medical school, and they're like reforming different courses. So it's really exciting and really promising, but I think there's still a long way to go. But I'm glad that like the first steps are being taken for sure. We always joke that like by the time PJ gets to medical school, it'll be a whole different landscape.
It's good that you're doing that, honestly. I didn't expect you to say that you actually did that, in terms of you actually taking steps, and that's what more people need to do, you know. So kudos, that's pretty good.
And I want to make one point of correction. PJ will be a NBA athlete, NBA basketball player,
the Premier League player, all of them, all join.
I'm even open to golf and tennis, open to any of those things.
All sports.
Doctor is like low on the list. You know,
Dr. PJ Uche can do all those things at once. Don't limit him.
Fair enough. I mean, he can be done with his sports career by like 30, and then medical career.
This is true. He can play college ball while doing medicine.
Yeah.
You
No,
can
no,
be the
no, no.
first
Bernie, don't limit it to college ball because we wanted to make money from the ball
Pro,
too.
yeah.
So,
He'll be in the NBA.
yeah, give him 5-6 years in any sport he wants, and then he can say, okay, I'm 32 now. I'm smart enough to go back to med school, finish
That's
up
true.
med school, and then make
That's
the
true.
bucks that way also.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a lot of people, a lot of our brothers that immigrated here that did exactly the same thing. So it's not like we're talking about something that's impossible. There's a few.
True, actually.
There was a New York Giant. I forgot his name, but he did the same thing. Finished his playing career, finished med school, and now he's a doctor in New York. So it's not like it's impossible. Yeah, look him up. I don't know what his name is, but there's definitely somebody that did that, and now he's a doctor, a surgeon actually, not just any doctor.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, he played the NFL, finished, and then finished up med school.
Well, I all I hope is that our black surgeons have gifted hands, but gifted
Don't
brains.
Don't do that.
Well, because that guy
That's
doesn't have.
embarrassing. I'm embarrassed.
That guy I have
Someone was such a hero back then.
Oh, man.
God.
I drew
Everyone read
that
that
book.
book. Yes.
Yes.
Every
God.
Nigerian child has read that book.
Such an
I
idiot.
guarantee it.
Such an idiot. It's crazy.
So disappointing.
But I mean, this is a good segue to the shenanigans happening. Once you lean to that side, all your senses go, because I mean, we can start talking about this gradually, but like Giuliani at one point was a sensible human being. He was respected. I mean, some of the things he did was racist in itself, but in general, he helped clean up New York. And now look at him. Now he's not even getting paid by the idiot that he's trying to defend. So how does he feel? It's crazy.
Do you think that, like, those people were sensible, or do you think it was that they just weren't given like a big enough platform to like really show their true selves? You know what I mean? Like, do you think Ben Carson at some point was like a competent person, or do you think that he was just able to like get like it wasn't until we gave him a microphone we realized?
Let's not do that. He's not Kanye West. Don't just cancel him.
No, I mean like within his circle, right, or within his sphere of expertise. Great, right? It's like me. If you put me in the tech space and you talk all you want, I'm gonna look very competent. But if you put me in a place where I don't know anything and you start asking my opinion, I'm gonna sound like a dumbass. And that's what Ben Carson is. The guy doesn't know anything about governance, about politics, about anything other. This is a guy, right, who literally said that prison. You need to be careful with people in prison because they come out gay. Like what? What? I honestly don't believe there's anything outside medicine that Ben Carson actually knows. I don't think it's even on the level of him knowing stuff. I think it's just his personality in general. No one would have known what he was like other than what he wrote and what we heard about him. We didn't get to see him do things that are basic human reasoning. So, we couldn't have known, that he was just a useless human being, essentially. Doesn't think normally. Bernie, like that link I sent into the group of that guy in the middle of white people saying "fuck BLM," and it's like you look like an idiot. Your mohawk looks terrible. Like somebody sat you down and forced you to shave the size of your head, and that's all they did. Like you look like an idiot. So people like that exist, Have you seen that video? It's like
no, I have not seen that video.
One of the people who was at the Capitol.
Yeah,
was it the guy in the black? He was wearing like the black bomber.
He was wearing like a jacket, and he had a
like
mohawk,
an orange sweater,
a wide mohawk, which looked terrible.
I don't know if it was orange, but like all these white people are just screaming like, "Fuck BLM" or "Fuck BLM." And honestly, he doesn't look convinced, but he's doing it.
Exactly.
He doesn't look convinced.
But it's not like he was. It's not like he was like a regular black guy that was just in the midst of white people and was afraid maybe somebody will attack him if he said otherwise. He looked like somebody from Get Out, essentially. Like he's been captured, he's brainwashed, he's there, but he's not sure what he's doing. But he has to go along with everything that's going on right now. He's halfway to being brainwashed.
My question with those people, how did they get there? Like, I feel like if I like woke up, even like in this house, for example, my brothers are here, my parents are here. If I woke up one day and I was just like, you know what, like black people really are just like the inferior race, everybody would be like, can you shut up and go somewhere else? Like, how did they become that way? How did nobody like pull them back?
There's several things he could be. Have you seen that or heard about the movie Farming?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the British movie written by that Nigerian guy that looks like a killer. He essentially was his life, dropped in the UK when he was a kid. His parents were going to school, so they would farm their kids to white people to take care of them, and go away to study, and then come back maybe a few months, to see their kids. Essentially fostering, right? So he
Oh.
grew up in a part of London or outskirts of London that was skinhead nation, essentially. And it wasn't only him; he had a whole family of orphans living with his family, and that's how he grew up. Essentially, going to school and living with skinheads. Eventually, he became a black skinhead, and beating up black kids. Was the only black kid doing skinhead culture. All that, and it's just about his whole life and how his major turning point was his parents came and took him back to Lagos for a little bit, and he was acting out there, and he said he hated black people. Came back and just became even worse. You know, essentially just fighting with people, and just being a racist essentially to black people. You
What?
seem stunned, but it was real. Like it was really his life.
The thing is, like, like I remember him talking about it. It was his real life, and
part of it was not like it's a joke.
Part of it was the same thing that we're dealing with now, which is misinformation.
Yep.
Is that that was his circle, right?
Yeah.
And he's being fed little starts with little things, right? Little nuggets of misinformation about the other race or other people, and then it snowballs into something else. And that's literally what happened at the Capitol.
Yeah.
Like,
and also like just him wanting to fit in, essentially. And that's pretty much what he didn't want to be the one getting beat up, so he wanted to be on the other side. So yeah, people in the Capitol, this literally, in some ways, the same way you would say Hitler was a genius, not the kind we want, but they have motivation, they have power, right?
He's an evil genius, yeah.
So this is the kind of thing from his campaign that he's been pushing. It's not like today is the first time he's saying fake news. People are not like the news that's not reporting anything about me good is correct. This has been something he's been saying since his campaign. So like the seeds have been thrown in there, and anyone that's on board is on board. And it's unfortunately, they've raised themselves all the way to this point where there's no going back for certain people.
I think that the like I don't want to say genius, the cult personality or whatever that is Trump is so interesting, because it's like it's become like a personality trait. Some of these people, like their identity is found in like being a Trump supporter. Like it's not even that their identity is found in like sharing his values. Like their identity is found in that dumb red hat. And it's just so like, it's so silly, but also so like that whole Capitol event just like showed how like a group of people, no matter like how silly what they believe is actually like super dangerous. Like it's a miracle that nothing worse happened that day, because there's like reporting that they showed up with like zip ties and like were ready to like hold a public execution of like government officials, all because they believe in this man who does not know their name.
Doesn't even believe in it as strong as they do, because literally, like, it's so stupid. Like he said, "I'm gonna walk there with you," and he disappeared. Like,
my guy went.
Are you? Doesn't it make sense to you? Like, to me, the thing that almost excites me and like makes me feel better about this is when they realize how dumb they are. Because from that next day, when someone was trying to fly out and they kicked him off the flight because of the no-fly list now, and he's like crying, and it's like that guy that was crying in the middle of the airport saying that they're treating him as a black person because they were like, okay, like, so you're realizing now how stupid it is to behave how you behave to other people. Like, the basic concepts of humanity.
The thing I find funny is that like to Chimdi's point is that there's a very big difference in terms of, because people keep saying, you didn't care when Black Lives Matter rioted or whatever, which is a false equivalence in the first place. But let's just have that conversation, because when black people get caught by police and when white people get caught by police, it's two different reactions. Black people are like, essentially, they're like, fuck the police. Like, there's a defiance about it. Like, there's an aggression about it. But then when white people who have done heinous things, they're caught by police, it's like, how dare you take me in? Like,
they're crying.
Huh? Like, how are you surprised? How are you
The
offended?
entitlement. Today I just
No,
watched
and then
a video of somebody trying to enter Trader Joe's. Obviously, anti-maskers,
I
the
saw that.
worst people. And this guy, I'm like, so what are you protesting here? The fact that you have to wear a mask, the fact that coronavirus exists, and this always again with the realization when what you're supporting has hit you now, when the other shoe has turned, right? When somebody in your family gets COVID and they die, the crying afterwards is so pathetic. It's like, oh, so now you understand what we're talking about. Like it's
And
crazy.
in that video, the lady is like, she's like, under the Third Amendment, this is a public place of housing. Da, da, da. I was like, okay,
Right,
so you have the sense to be reading up like laws and amendments of public buildings. You don't have the sense to figure out that like wear a mask, it helps like reduce COVID. It just like makes no, and it's just such a thing of like, when children, like, okay, maybe not all children, but when I was a kid, if I decided I wanted something, if I said I want this candle and everybody was like, the candle will burn the house down, you don't need the candle. I was like, no, sorry, I've decided I want the candle and nothing will happen until I get the candle. That's all of them. They don't want any reason. They just want like to be heard and to say that like I took a stand on this thing, which is honestly not important. This mask is not going to kill you. If you want to go shopping so badly, put on a mask. Like, it's not that hard.
It's the selective memory. It's the privilege. It's like, especially with the capital thing, like, or like arresting white people. It's like, I like how black people on Twitter are like, oh, you should have complied. You should have been compliant. Like, because this is exactly the same thing somebody like them would say to a protester on the other side. You know what I mean? So it's like, you select when you want the rules to work for you. Because it's like saying that Trump didn't incite this whole thing. That's bullshit. It's like saying I saw it on Twitter too. It's like saying Bin Laden didn't incite the 9/11 attackers. He didn't do it himself. He was chilling wherever he was. But his rhetoric and his, motivation made them do it. Obviously, for some of those guys, he legitimately told them directly, go do this. But in general, your concept, it's like saying that, Jim Jones or whoever told these people explicitly, kill yourself. No, he said, this is what I think is the right thing to do. I'm going to do it. You should join me too. And they took it. And, I don't know which one. There's one of them that did that and his whole congregation died and he was still alive. Can't remember who it was.
I know. That was like in the 90s.
But like, I mean, he went to jail for that. So why shouldn't Trump answer that? Why shouldn't those two, like first of all, one person that really needs to go to jail is that freaking, what's his face?
Josh Hawley.
No, not even Josh. Somebody else that's so egregious that he just needs to pay for his crimes. Fucking Cruz is the worst. He's the worst human being in the world. I can't. His face looks annoying. You can tell his wife and his kids hate him. You can tell he's just a miserable human being.
You know why that guy's worse though? Like, Trump insulted that guy's wife,
bro.
Trump called his wife ugly and said his father was a Zodiac killer.
All of them during the initial campaign, the vitriol between each party and Trump. Right? They told the truth about Trump at that time. Once it was twisted, it's like now he's the best thing. Even McConnell did the same thing. Lindsey Graham is the biggest annoying flip-flop that there is. Rubio, to me, what's his name? Ted Cruz and Rubio are like this. They're like the most insufferable flip-flop, stupid. Like they both got the most heat from Trump, like during the campaign, and they both lick his ass so bad right now that it's like, it did not affect you back then or what? Like, it's crazy.
No, are you embarrassed? Like, this man literally, like, if I were his wife, I would be livid. Yep. This guy got on national television and said he has an ugly wife, and now he's like, kiki. If I was his wife, I'm packing my things and going. How dare you?
I mean, but you saw from the press conferences, his wife definitely looks like she doesn't like him. His kids.
She needs to pack everything. No, what the other thing I'm like really passionate about in this whole like political sphere, all these women who are just like standing by, listen, go and get you a lawyer and get all your money and go. You do not have to be here. You don't have to be a part of this. Melania, I'm talking to you. Like, they all need to just get a lawyer, get your things, take your kids, go. You do not need to be tied to these like loser ass men. Just go.
It's so like disappointing because you know what? I think like if you look at Lindsey Graham, he literally said Trump was his I think the exact words were he's a xenophobic, racist bigot, and he's crazy. And like then he became,
and if the Republican Party supports him, it's gonna be the end of the Republican Party.
yeah,
That's what he said, legitimately. And until last week, he didn't like come to his senses. Everything the president did, he backed. Even McConnell, same thing. I don't know, man. Anyways, let that party burn. I'm cool with it. It's whatever.
I wanted to ask Dera about not about the vaccine itself, but I saw a video just before we came on that actually made me laugh. It's some chiropractor. This is a chiropractor. Got on Twitter, and he posted a video of a woman who was just shaking, like she was literally just like holding the sides of the door. I was just like, and he was like, "See, this is the effect of the vaccine." And I'm like, "Listen, fam, like even if you're the biggest vaccine skeptic of all time, a person just shaking their leg and shaking their head is no freaking symptom of a vaccine. What is going on?"
No, it's crazy.
I think that stuff like that is so dangerous, and like the beauty of the internet is that we have access to like all of this information. The downfall of the internet is that like people are so lazy and stupid that like a lot of people will see that. Sorry, I shouldn't call people stupid, but like people will see that video and be like, "This is fact. This is Bible. This is the truth." When like you have access to every single piece of information available in the world today, a 2-second Google search will tell you the actual side effects of the vaccine. And what's worse, that chiropractor, like, sorry, honey, you don't know what you're talking about. And that person in their own soul, they also know that they're spewing lies that is just like to cater to a specific audience. And I think that is so like, it's the same thing as like those politicians who like catered to Trump. Like they themselves don't believe anything and they're okay watching other people's lives, other people perish for like buying into this line of thinking. The same as that chiropractor. If you walk to his door now and offer him the vaccine, my guy's taking it, but it's fully comfortable. Like, yeah, like it's comfortable telling people that it's gonna make you shake.
It's crazy. I mean, that's one thing I keep thinking in my head. Like, is it that Trump is so far gone that he doesn't care about the personal consequences of his lies, or he legit doesn't care? He's just evil and just legitimately doesn't care. Because like I'm thinking about it, like you say certain things because you've gone down that rabbit hole, but like at what point do you recant? Like, or you just can't. And do you even think of the consequences going forward? Because like I mean, my soul wouldn't feel good if I told such lies and I'm making people do certain things and I'm misleading half of the country essentially. I mean, how do you feel? And even huh?
You have a soul though.
That's what I'm saying. So I guess he doesn't. And it's the problem with this is the way they use evangelicals and Christians. But I guess this is how it's been all over the world from time, because Christians, as much as we like to feel like we're good, Christianity and Catholicism specifically have had their turn and ruin in the world. So, I always come back to that at some point in my life. The realization that look, these religions, the biggest extremists, I guess, in any type of religion, this is the same truth, have done things to ruin the world in their own way. Like Catholicism and Christianity did theirs, like in the Dark Ages, whenever that whole period was. The Crusades were pretty much genocides, stuff like that. So, like, beheading philosophers and people like that, burning witches, all those things is like, but I guess it's ignorance, but still, I don't know. It's crazy.
I agree that like, I think Christianity is the involvement of like evangelicals and like Christianity and Trump's whole ploy has been like a very, I think it's forced a lot of Christians to like look in on themselves and like think about like, what do I believe and why do I believe it? And like, what is tying me to these people who say they share my belief system? And I think that the thing about like all of like anybody who supports Trump, I think there's like a huge component of like pride associated with it, that like I've gone out this far and I've like put myself in this position.
Yeah.
I've said I'm on the side of this person who has such radical views, and I've probably like ostracized myself from a lot of like friends and family. At this point, like I can't turn back, because like what are they gonna do? Be like, oh, I mean, they should be like, I was wrong, but like I think that's a reach in human nature. Like people like to feel like their decisions are correct and their decisions are warranted. So I think they're just willing to like go to these insane lengths, like even if it means using like manipulating the Bible and like manipulating biblical teachings to say that like this is why Trump is the right choice, or like cherry picking parts of his like belief system.
Because like a lot of these like all these like, you know, Dera knows me and televangelists don't go together, but like, you know, a lot of these people will say things like, you know, the coronavirus will go away, you know, blow it, like, you know, and then some of them are even, these pastors are saying that we don't need no vaccine, we just need Jesus and all that. And like, we're all Christians here. Like, I don't think this, like, the fact that we actually listen to science makes us any less Christian. Like,
I think the conversation around
there's a stigma there.
No, totally. I think I was just going to say, like, I think starting with like, and I won't make anybody say if they're like an evolutionist or like what they believe in that way, but I think that like that kind of conversation around like you can either only believe in science or you only believe in God. Like, I think that is such a like silly like line of thinking to go down. And I think once you start doing that, once you start like having this like if your faith was big enough, you wouldn't need science conversation. It's the same reason that like prosperity teaching is so dangerous, because then you make people feel like, oh, your grandparent got COVID, not because they didn't go to the hospital or not because they didn't wear their mask, because they didn't love God, they didn't tithe. That's why they're in this position. And I think that is like where like public Christianity like really falls apart and just becomes like embarrassing.
It's the same way that Trump and that, like, I feel like that whole Trump cult, as I like to call it, it's really prosperity preaching, but from a political standpoint. That's literally all it is. That if you follow me, and if you don't, and you know, like even around the time, even though he lost, he was still trying to solicit. He was soliciting donations for his campaign, and even like notice Ted Cruz and Holly, while their Capitol was being stormed, they were soliciting donations. So they're taking that playbook of donate to me, I will make your life better. You know, donate to Trump and believe in me, the Trump idol, I'll make your life better, which is not how this is supposed to work.
And it's not even like they're not even delivering. Like the people that are the hee-haw, yee-haw people that are following him are not benefiting in any way, shape, or form from like the typical person is not doing any worse than they would if they weren't following him. Do you know what I mean? Like he's not doing anything spectacular for any of them. Only people benefiting are the rich people, the corporations. That's it. No one else. So I don't even know where the deception is coming from, but I guess just people just want to follow somebody, and it's crazy.
That's like that meme that was going around that was like, if you're like if you don't have a bed frame, you don't need to worry about Biden's tax plan. Like all these people have like convinced themselves that like their lifestyle is under attack and their whatever is under attack. But like Trump promised to make your life better, make America great again 4 years ago. Okay, so how is your life better? What has changed in your personal sphere?
Many of them are
follow through.
Yep.
Like Kellyanne Conway was on Bill Maher's show yesterday, and she's like, I'm sure that people will agree that their lives have been made better in these 4 years. And he goes, most of them are dead. Oh,
God, she's the worst.
You guys, the other reason you need to get TikTok is because Kellyanne Conway's daughter, Claudia, is the 16-year-old girl who has TikTok. This girl is single-handedly ruining her parents' lives. She's the reason Kellyanne Conway had to quit from the White House. These children, you give them a phone, there's nothing they can't do. This girl,
I like that they're so American that they really can't do anything to their kids, because like they just have to accept that their kids are ruining their lives. Because like obviously, I mean, for the Nigerian kid or whatever, that phone is gone. You're shipped to somewhere in Nigeria. Nobody will ever hear from me again. But they legit can't. The only thing they can do, and I guess it's a bad thing, but only thing they can do is extremes. Like they can either just let the person do whatever they're doing, or shut them up in a way that's not kosher. You know what I mean? So it's crazy, but
Mhm.
she's reaping what she sows. I don't know. Like that. One of the protesters' daughters, like saying, like calling out her mom. She's the one that punched. She was trying to bully a black woman in the crowd, and the black woman punched her, and she was like bleeding from her nose. And anyways, whatever. It was just funny. And I find it funny anytime things like this happen where families like betraying you. Like I love when Trump's niece is on the phone, is on the CNN, like
Oh,
just
she's
telling us how crazy he is, and how the whole family's gonna burn after this whole thing. Like honestly, one thing I'm looking forward to is at least the New York AG's move against him. Like I just want to see what the states are gonna do, especially in New York, because if they do their job right, he should go to jail ASAP. You know what I mean?
I don't think
Just
he's
for his
going
business deal.
anywhere.
No, no, no. His business dealings. He can only exonerate himself from certain things. But like honestly, his businesses are going to go down. Like there's nothing he can do about it. Nothing.
But I feel like rich old men have been doing like shady things business wise for as long as there has been
Yeah, but
business,
not
and
as
many of
badly as
them will
he's been
not.
doing it.
I feel like they've been doing worse. They just haven't become president. I definitely think he's done terrible things. I think there are people who have done worse who just had the sense to not put themselves in the limelight.
Fair enough.
I think that like Trump is a slimy, slippery little specimen. I feel like he's gonna get away with it.
Let's talk about a slimy specimen. So we've got a new. I think at this point we have a new segment of the podcast called the Weekly Kanye.
You have one, but I
Yes,
support it. It's okay.
I have it. Yes, every guest that comes on gets quizzed on their support for Kanye West. Basically, failed presidential candidate Kanye West, by the way.
Dumbass.
But here, Dera said something earlier about these women who are married to these people. They're just crazy and doing stupid things. Get your money and get out. Dera, confirm, because Dera is our TMZ in our. Can you confirm that Kim is divorcing Kanye?
The Kardashian West marriage is over. I'm sorry to let you guys know this. The Kardashian West marriage is over and apparently has been over for a minute.
Have we been hearing this before, though?
Yeah, they haven't. Okay, so to be fair to the Kardashian West group, they haven't made like an official confirmation, but also like these are not people who like let rumors like sit for any amount of time. Like if you guys remember when the Jordan Woods stuff was going down, they were silent because it was true. Anytime they're silent is an admission of guilt, okay, in the Kardashian world. They speak up when they have to debunk things. So the Kardashian, and this is like a big thing, her marriage, the Kardashian West marriage is over. Kimberly is getting her affairs in order. She's hired her lawyer. She soon will be a lawyer herself. She is gonna get her bag. And, okay, also I learned something funny, not funny, but in their prenup, for every year they were married, Kanye was to give Kim $1 million. Like if they separated, she would get $1 million for every year they were married up to 10 years. So like they have prenups and they have their own like legal teams, but baseline, Kim gets $10 million from him plus like whatever percentage they had agreed on in her prenup.
But she doesn't need it though, right? Like she's
Let's say.
No, Kim doesn't need it, but I just think like who gets married and like promises somebody $10 million? You know what I mean? Like, aren't you curious about like what was going on in that room?
Rich people, because this is the. I personally don't understand the whole. Like, I don't know how your marriage or relationship can survive a prenup. I don't care what stage you are in, as long as you're willing to say, "I want to have conditions in case we split." To me, that's already a red flag, personally. So I don't care how much assets you have or whatever. If you're already planning, oh, we might divorce later, I want to save myself from certain things. To me, that's a big red flag. So I personally, that's already a cancellation. Rich people, it makes sense for them to try to protect their assets, but same time, how
can I ask a question as devil's advocate?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say like I'm not married, so I'm asking two people who are married without prenups, but let's say like you just want like conditions of like if you turn out to be like the actor, actress of our generation and are just like scamming me galore, I don't want to be scammed out of my money. At least, like, you can take my time, but don't take my money. You know?
I guess I understand the concept.
I do too.
I guess what Chimdi's saying, and I sort of understand it as well, as it like, if I feel like, if I don't trust you 100% going in, right? And I feel, because to me, and I understand why some people are going to say no, but to me, if I have a prenup, there's a little bit of distrust.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2% distrust, maybe, right? Some people will say, no, it's not. It's just in case, but like, I can't sit there and work with my lawyer and draft up all this paperwork if I don't have a little bit of distrust. This is me personally.
Even if it's distrust in myself also, like the red flag is not only on the other side. It might be me. I'm saying, I might want to mess around later, so protecting myself. Like, I don't, it's not a strong footing to stand on in a relationship. I don't think,
I do get it though, but like
I get it too.
I do get it, and it could make sense, because also I feel if you are stupidly rich, right? You probably got stupid. Like, no one makes that much money without doing shady things. Let's just be real. Even if you have the best intention with a health app or something, so you have to do some type of corner some way, somehow. So these people have it in them at this point now to protect themselves, because all they do actually in life protect themselves legally. So I can understand it. It just becomes part of your day-to-day and your machine, I guess. But as little old me, I'm like, my wife is awesome. Amaka's awesome. I think Chimdi and I feel very secure in our situations.
See, even if that's what I'm saying, even if like you get very rich, like that's why I like kind of like. Sorry, I thought Kamala was crying. That's why I like even like Jeff Bezos's situation, because I guess he's rich enough where half of his money really doesn't really. I mean, I'm going to double my money eventually. He knew I was going to have him.
He's gained it back by now. He's fine.
But like I'm in my mind, I'm like, if you're really that rich, and the deal is when you get divorced, a one-time split of your money. No matter what, I think without a prenup, that's usually what it is. I mean, you argue for different things, custody, blah, blah, blah. But like the basic is, at the very least, she gets half of everything you own, right? If you're really doing well and you're really rich like that, it's a temporary dent in your, you know what I mean? Unless you're saying you don't think you're going to make money anymore, or you're old enough where your money is not making any more money, you're just stagnant. First of all, if you get to that point where you're making, even anybody that's sensible anyways, that's making up to $1 million, is thinking about ways to keep doubling their money nonstop. Sensible people. So why are you afraid of losing half in one go? Even if it means, especially if it means peace of mind afterwards. Because if you're saying divorce me, half of everything is yours, fuck off. Don't disturb me again. We're living in according to the half of everything, and we're good at that. You can, if you're a savvy person, you're gonna make that money again. You won't it won't put a dent too much into what your future looks like. That's how I think about it anyways. You know what I mean? You're not gonna be stagnant because you lost half of your money. No. I mean, you have things in place where you're gonna keep making more money. The only place that it gets bad is if you keep having to pay this person as you keep making money in the future. It's like, okay, so you're really in my life for the rest of my life. Why are we divorcing in the first place?
You know what? That's an interesting thing, Dera. This is something that you're never gonna have to deal with. Let me just say in Jesus' name,
amen.
Because I'm never gonna have to make. I plan on, as someone who plans on marrying rich, as one of my goals and aspirations.
It's actually a true thing.
I love people like that now. So
I just wanted to hear you guys' thoughts and feelings, but I think that like the interesting part about like the Kim and Kanye of it all is because when they first got together, like Kim wasn't like, or even Kanye wasn't the brand that he is now, and Kim really wasn't the brand that she is now. So I think that they're like, I don't think like when Kim
was, Kanye was on their own.
Not the brand. No, they weren't the brands that they are today.
Obviously not today, but
Skims is gonna take over the world. Mark my words. Like,
yeah, but it's like you're saying it as if if they were single, they wouldn't have gone to this point anyways in their careers.
No. I think they probably would have, but I definitely think that there's a part of Yeezy that became so popular because of Kim and because of the Kardashians like making streetwear like chic and trendy, or like loungewear kind of more chic and trendy. And I also think that there's a part of Kim that became kind of like the fashion icon. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, the way Kim used to dress before.
Mm-hmm.
I think for better or worse, I don't really like the way Kanye talks about her, like this mannequin that he can just like dress up. But I think for better or worse, he kind of introduced her to like high fashion, introduced her to some like stylistic like exploration that like she's been able to like cultivate this style that people are really interested in and that like people really want to mimic. So I think together they built each other's brands up in a different way, and their finances are so different now than they were when they first got together. So my interest with their prenup is really just like, how will all of that be taken into account, and like will there be like petty discourse around like who gets what and who is owed what? Because they're both so rich, like at this point it would just be petty for them to be like, I want this amount of money from you, from either party. So I'd just be curious how that goes.
That's the kind of thing. So that's the kind of relationship where I feel like it might be a continuous thing as long as their brands have anything to do with each other. So it won't be a one spot split. There will be recurring. There will be LLCs that are created that they both share in. You know, stuff like that. Those are the kind of ones that are headaches because it's like, you know,
there's too many complexities involved in.
Exactly.
What I've always been curious about, and again, the God forbid it ever happen to anyone, but is like when you get divorced and the child support is wild. Like, you know the whole Dr. Dre and you know, hopefully he gets out of hospital, but that his thing. I think she was asking for $1 million a month or some wild number in child support, and my brain just went, I get it's a percentage of whatever someone makes or something weird like that, right? Mm-hmm. But like, at what point do we say this child doesn't need $1 million a month? Like,
see, but it wasn't even just that. Like, it was entertainment, travel, lifestyle, wardrobe. I'm like, dude, let's just agree on one number. You don't have to break it all down to me. And honestly, it sounded ridiculous. They're asking me for $1 million for your travel every month. Like, where the hell are you going? Get first class. Don't you have to get private jets every trip you take? You know what I mean? Sit your ass down for the home. I mean, like, what are you doing?
I think the thing with child support is that the precedent is that like you want to maintain the child and the mother's lifestyle to the quality that it would have been maintained if they were with you. So you can argue ridiculous things for like rich people because you can be like, if we were still together, if we were raising this child together, we would be taking $1 million vacations. We would be doing da-da-da. So that you can argue that like, so the child is entitled to da-da-da, and therefore I'm also entitled to. But then I also feel like at that point, like, don't you get a pit in your stomach knowing that you're like sitting here counting somebody else's money? Like somebody's suffering because you wanted to like buy another Birkin?
I don't think they care. At that point, you don't care. You don't care.
African parents have the right idea, man. Like honestly, African parents, props. Because honestly, many of them are rich, but the children grew up and they didn't even know they were rich. Like many African kids were like, man, you people are talking about things I never saw in a day in my life. But then they figure out as they get older, they're like, that has a nice car. That has a nice watch. Wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yep. Yeah, but I mean, it's when they're like hiding, like African parents. Like I think, to some extent, too, their own is bad because like they're hiding stuff. You don't even know what they're doing. What are you doing with it? You know, what is your plan for the next generation? If you're not going to give it to me, or like, what are you hoarding this thing for?
Well, the previous generation had a problem of, like, you know, when I'm saying like even previous, let's say 2 generations back. Like not our generation, where actually the women didn't even know where what was happening with the money. It was just as long as there's food and there's, you know, shelter and clothes, I trust my husband, so he can do any offshore things he wants to do with the money. And then when he leaves, you're like,
You have nothing. The family contends with you for everything. Situations like that is it has its own perils too, because some women, once they become widows, their life is over. They have nothing else. Unless their kid is a boy and he's grown enough to fight for his parents, for his dad's property. If not, your in-laws are kicking you out.
Yeah, just be happy that like you have a good situation, because in Nigeria, let me tell you, if anything happened to your parents and you don't have good uncles and aunties, they'll come and just take everything. And by the way, they're entitled to do it.
Yep.
I don't understand legality in Nigeria. I don't understand the laws and regulations that govern these. How can my uncle come and take my dad's money?
That's the thing. There's no laws. It's old Igbo laws, traditions. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Keep your tradition. Run me my check.
Exactly.
But that's why most of these wives need to know what their husbands are doing, because if they don't know, they're going to be left out.
And then when their husband goes to jail, they're standing there looking. But I think that not to just shade Nigerian women, I don't know if any of you guys watch any of the Real Housewives franchises, but every year there's a Real Housewife whose husband goes to jail for tax fraud, tax evasion.
All of them.
Yep.
Yeah, now it's Beverly Hills that this man took money from. Do you know who Tom Girardi is?
No,
I've heard the name, but I don't know who exactly he is.
Okay, so Tom Girardi is this big lawyer who took money from there was an Indonesian flight that crashed that his law firm was defending. Mm-hmm. He embezzled all the money from it, was using it to fight. This woman was on a TV show flexing their cash up, down, left, right. He was embezzling all this money from all these clients. And then Erica, his wife, was oh, I didn't know where the money was coming from. So I don't think it's exclusive to Nigerian women. I think some women just as long as their credit card bill is being paid, they're content with however you got that money is between you and God.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Sad situation. But yeah, it's not anybody's portion. Yeah, so
amen.
We good.
On that note, Dera, thank you for joining us on this episode.
It was amazing.
Really, really had fun. Didn't even know the time had passed.
I know, right?
Thanks for having me, you guys. This was so fun.
We're going to have you back. We're telling all our guests we're going to have you back once we do the Talk Shop reviews, which we keep saying we're going to do it, so we need to probably stop.
We need to talk about it, yeah.
We're going to have short segments, additional episodes where we just review stuff. That we like. And I know Dera's a good person to review things. So
I love pop culture. So once Kim comes public with the divorce, I'll come back and give my hot takes.
Okay.
Real quick before we let you go, what TV show are you watching? Or what TV show recommendation do you have for me? Because we're always looking for one. And should our listeners be watching?
Okay, so for you, Bernie, I think you might like Lupin, the new show on Netflix. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Started today.
Lupin, or also The Boys on Amazon Prime. I think I've told you about this one before and you didn't watch it.
I love The Boys.
I haven't got it,
right?
I've watched it, yeah. It's good.
Yeah, okay. It's I think you'll like it, Bernie. And shows that everybody should be watching. I don't know, actually. I'm fishing for new TV shows to watch. So if you guys have recommendations.
So I like different things. I like fantasy, first of all. And I like two different kinds. I like fantasy that is it's built around actual history. So I like period stuff, like Vikings, like Utrecht of Birth. I haven't watched Bridgerton because I feel like that's I like the ones that are gritty, like Vikings. That's what I like. I like to be able to find out that Prince King Alfred was like crazy. I haven't watched Bridgerton. Amaka has watched it. I don't think I'm gonna like it because I need action, man. I don't want any. I don't want any romance.
There's dramatic action. There's emotional action in Bridgerton. Give it a try.
Go and watch Vikings, then you know what I mean by action. Action all the way. So stuff like that, and then I also like Space Odysseys. I like right now I'm watching season 4 or 5 of The Expanse. I like stuff like that. I like this.
Where is that? What's that on?
Amazon Prime.
Okay.
The Expanse. Obviously, anything Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm in that. Stuff like that. But anyways, the series that I'm watching right now is that Vikings and The Expanse. Now I want to watch Lupin. Is in a foreign language, right?
Yeah, there's English dub, but I've watched the first 2 episodes. I recommend watching it in French with English
The
subtitles.
problem is this. I'm not a fan of reading subtitles because I want to see their faces. I'm not trying to look at the line and I'm not good at multitasking with my eyes. So
it just feels more authentic to me.
It does. I agree. That's kind of why I wasn't a fan of Le Papier, the whatever Money Heist. I wasn't a fan of it because of that.
Watching Money Heist.
Yeah, because of that, I didn't want to. I started watching with the English dub, and I'm like, this is not authentic. But I'm not trying to look at subtitles, so I gave up on it. But people love it.
Raised by Wolves, you'll like it.
Yes, I want to see that one.
You'll like it.
Is an Apple? You might like. Bernie, what was that one you recommended to me that time? You recommended to me like 2 Christmases ago. It's like a mystical one.
The Witcher.
Yeah,
I watched that. Trust me, I watched anything like that. I watched it already. Trust me. Wait, what? Raised by Wolves was on what? Apple, right?
HBO.
Was it HBO? HBO Max, right?
HBO Max. It might be on HBO Go as well, but it's an HBO Max original show.
That's the reason why I couldn't watch it. It was on Max. I couldn't watch it on the original, but now I have Max, so I'm cool.
Yeah. Bernie, how are you watching HBO Max here in Canada?
Some HBO Max shows get on Crave.
Oh,
some of them. Not all the originals get on Crave. All the originals get on Crave, actually.
Okay. I have another show recommendation from Apple TV. It's called Defending Jacob with who plays Captain America, Chris Evans.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but I've seen that around.
I really liked it because I still don't know is this kid guilty?
I'm gonna watch that. I watched Ted Lasso, and which I really
watched Ted Lasso.
I really like that too.
I watched C. See, things like C is what I like.
Because the reviews were so bad.
I liked it, but it's weird. It's like when I told you his Dark Materials.
Yeah.
It's weird fantasy. It's not really, you can't really relate because it's out of this world type of things. But I liked it. So I watched C. I want to watch Tehran. It's also on Apple TV. And one thing I want to go back. It was the time I went back and watched stuff. I want to go back and watch. What's the one was on Showtime? Like a Homeland or what was it?
Oh, Homeland. The one that's not mystical though. It's like people who work at Homeland Security.
Yeah, exactly. Was it called Homeland?
Homeland. Yeah.
I want to watch that because I thought it was really good. I haven't gone back to watch 24. Not in the mood for 24. I went back and watched The Wire. That was amazing.
The Wire is the best show I ever made.
Between that and Sopranos, you're missing out if you haven't watched them.
Best show ever made.
I have a recommendation for your audience, actually. I didn't know we could do throwbacks. The greatest experience of my life was actually going back and watching Desperate Housewives again.
Oh.
It is so good. I'm sorry. It is so good for no reason. I was a child when it came on. I remember me and my sisters sneak clips of it, and I just thought it was juicy. But then watching it through adult eyes, it is so good. Everybody should go back and watch on Amazon Prime. Watch Desperate Housewives.
That's what I'm hearing about Girlfriends too. That I should go back and watch Girlfriends because
that show's ass. It was horrible. Amara and I tried it. Man, I turned that thing off after half of the first episode. That thing ass.
That's why I haven't tried.
The storyline cycle over and over again.
Yeah. I can imagine.
Anyway, we gotta go. I don't know if people are still gonna be here an hour 25 minutes in, but we have some loyal listeners. But this is the type of thing we're gonna be doing, but we'll have just one show or one album or whatever it is.
Yep.
We will do that. And Dera's, you might be our TV correspondent. We'll see what we do.
You know what we're gonna try to do for some of the shows? I think it's more of all of us agree which one we're gonna watch, watch it and review, as opposed to just we need to recommend something in advance complete it, and then talk about it. So
like a book club, but for TV shows.
yes, exactly.
That's good stuff.
Exactly.
That's good
Exactly.
stuff.
So we just need to figure out when we're going to start doing it and how we're going to work it into our regular scheduled stuff. But we'll get there. We're growing.
Stay tuned.
Exactly.
Dera,
Thank you very much.
Dr. D,
Thank you, guys.
thank you. Appreciate
Amazing.
it. And
Everybody wear your masks, wash your hands, be kind to healthcare workers, get the vaccine. The side effects are not that bad. It's better than death.
that's a good way to put that.
Exactly. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming on. It was a very fun one. Definitely.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
All right. Take care, Dera.
Good night.
Peace. Good night.
How do I?
Oh, she turned it off. Oh, it's fun.
I'll
yeah.
back.
No, wait, I just didn't know how to get, like, how do I end it?
Just.
I can throw you out. Don't worry.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
That was fun.
Yeah. Oh, good one. I didn't even know time just flew. That was good. That was good.
I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm not even going to stop it. I didn't even bother saying anything because it's good. It's good to have a normal guest, no agenda, no nothing, just somebody to
just talk. Just talk, have a good time. And we didn't actually, for our listeners, we didn't even have on the agenda talking about Black medical situation.
Yeah.
But it's actually a very important conversation. So I'm glad.
Very good conversation. I'm glad we did that. Yeah.
Very important. Very important.
Yep. All right, man. It was a good one.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Have a good night.
We'll talk to you next week.
Peace.
Welcome to the Talk Shop.